Hello out there, and let me say first a very happy 2018 to everyone who is watching. But even more than that, I have to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel, subscribed to the channel, because you made the end of my 2017 just incredible. It was incredible because the last couple days of the year, this channel hit 2,000 subscribers. And so again, my thanks to each and every one of you who has taken part in the discussion down below, or just subscribe, just watches every now and then, whatever it is. I really appreciate hitting that landmark. Very, very cool, and a great way to end 2017. And I'm determined to make 2018 just as good, just as much fun on this channel. And so we are going to have a giveaway that will start just to commemorate the 2,000 in the next few days. The knife is actually on the way to me now. Going to be a little bit of a different giveaway, a couple twists when it comes to the giveaway, so it should be fun. And I'll get into more of that in the next few days, like I said. But today, we're going to start the year with an overview of another new knife, and this is the Kershaw Halogen, number 1336BW, BW standing for the black wash blade that you see here. And this is a knife that I picked up because, honestly, I had never heard of it. I saw this knife on Massdrop, had never bought anything on Massdrop before, but I got this one because I didn't even know that it existed. And usually, you know, I keep track of Kershaw knives pretty well. I'm on top of what they're producing and manufacturing, and, you know, I have a list of all the knives that I want, and I cross it off, you know, as I pick up the knife when it comes out. And this one I didn't even know about, and so I don't know if I missed it at SHOT Show or whatever it was, but I saw this and knew I wanted to grab it. And, you know, I wanted it because it resembled this knife so much, the Flourish that I reviewed just a couple weeks ago. You know, I have very, very similar lines, as you can see here. Similar lines, similar look, similar materials, just everything about the knife is just very similar. And so I was hoping that this smaller version here would answer a lot of the questions that the Flourish created. Hopefully, you know, be an improvement upon some of the things that I didn't like with the Flourish. And it is that, but it also creates some questions of its own. And so we'll get into all that stuff, talk about the pros and the cons of the knife, most definitely, some of the other things that I've noticed and really like about this knife as we go through, you know, this overview of my first week of experience with this knife. So a couple other size comparisons while I have these knives out. Here it is next to a mini Griptilian. So you can see that the Halogen is a little bit bigger with a 3.25-inch cutting edge. It's right around 7.5 to 7 3/4 in total length. And here it is with the Kershaw Dividend as well. So still a little bit bigger than the Dividend, but overall generally comparable in blade length there. And looking at the knife, again, bringing back this Flourish, which I will continue to do, looking at the knife, there's just a ton of similarities, especially when we start with the blade. You know, the look of the blade is really similar with just the way the flats are and the swedge. You know, you don't have this fuller here or whatever this cutout is on the Flourish, but generally speaking, the lines are all the same, and you have the same steep hollow grind that the Flourish had. Now, the blade stock is a little bit thicker, actually, or maybe just comparable to the Flourish, but again, that very distinct. The distinct hollow grind makes it very thin behind the edge. Excellent slicer, and this knife came extremely sharp out of box. I was very impressed with that. So overall, very high marks for the blade and the look of the knife overall. You know, one other thing, interestingly enough, that this reminded me of when I looked at it right out of the box is it looks like a lot of Ganzos. You know, and you know, I don't think in any way, shape, or form Kershaw's trying to copy Ganzo, but I don't know, maybe. I mean, if you look at the pivot and you look at the thumb studs, I mean, the anodizing is really similar. The shape and look of them is really similar. You know, and there are a ton of Ganzos that have this more budget-friendly carbon fiber on them with that anodized blue hardware. You know, so, yeah, just interesting. Not sure what that means, if anything, but just something I definitely noticed when I unboxed the knife. And furthermore, as we move on back, you can see we do have this G10 with the carbon fiber laminate that the Flourish also had. Really attractive, good look. I like the G10. It feels good on the sides. It was a little bit sharp up here. You can see where this machining is. Obviously, what What happened was the machining was the last part that was done, and so that wasn't done all that clean and was very sharp. I took some sandpaper and took it to that spot and smoothed it out, and really have no issue since. Sorry, I'm trying to get this focused better. There we go. So yeah, sandpaper this and we're just fine. So it feels very good. Pretty smooth all the way throughout the rest of the edges, so good job there. In hand, the carbon fiber, even though it's smooth, the ergonomics are just excellent. Really, really good ergonomics with this knife. It fits right into the hand. I wish there was some jimping or some kind of texturing up here, but again, I mean, this knife just, it fits in the hand so nicely, no hot spots whatsoever. And you can see down by the butt of the knife, there is about another 1/2 inch where if you do have larger hands than me, you still should be able to get good purchase on the knife. As far as grip configurations go, though, I don't know, maybe a couple you could choke up if you needed to for some like fine tasks, but you can't really use this forward choil. Not large enough for a finger. It does provide, a relief edge when sharpening, but not really going to be functional for choking up like that. Not safe. But I don't know. I don't think that's really a big deal. I still think that the ergonomics for this knife are a huge win, and that's really just the lines of the knife that make it that way. Because there's no texturing. Even this texturing on the side doesn't really do anything ergonomically. You don't really you're not getting that with your thumb. So the reason why this feels good in hand is just a very smart and simple shape. It just fits right. So I mean, that's really good because you can't fake that. You either have it or you don't, and no amount of jimping can make up for a knife that doesn't just fit into the hand well, and this one does. So that's definitely a big plus. And then as we move on to like the lockup and the functionality of the knife, that's where I sort of start to have a couple issues. The lockup here it's pretty good. I mean, there's no up and down, but there was a little bit out of box. And so out of the box, it was just not particularly, I don't know, just didn't feel solid. And so I took the knife apart and made sure it was clean, and then just put it back together and tightened everything myself. And the knife locks up just fine, but it just doesn't feel like it's a very strong build. And while there is no like side to side here, there's a little bit of like flex, and it just doesn't feel like the sturdiest knife. Can't really explain that. If you've held a budget knife that feels this way, maybe you understand what I mean. But yeah, it just doesn't feel that strong. Again, for EDC tasks, not going to be an issue whatsoever. But yeah, just something that sort of jumped out at me because again, this flourish doesn't feel that way at all. And speaking of out of box, sorry, let me just regress for a quick second. I forgot to mention this knife out of box was extremely sharp. So extremely sharp out of box, really nicely done. 8CR13 MOV. Again, we all know about this steel by now, but Kershaw generally does a very good job of getting their knives sharp out of box, and this one was even better than what I usually expect. So yeah, just really good with that. But anyway, back to the rest of the knife. The lockup, like I said, just it's good, it's secure, but it's just not what I wanted it to be in terms of just the structural strength of the knife. And then one other thing in terms of materials that you can see in here are these plasticky like Teflon washers. And in one of my more recent videos about this hinderer right here, we did have a lot of really cool comments about washers. And there was a really nice discussion down below about what people prefer and why Teflon washers might be good, and the pros and cons to them versus bronze. And I'm not really going to chime in on that in this video too much, but what I do want to say is on every single Kershaw budget knife that I have ever seen, if there is a bronze set of washers in there versus the plastic or Teflon ones, whatever ones they use, the bronze ones open much nicer. The action is always 100% of the time nicer when you have bronze washers. Nice crisp action on the flourish with the bronze washers. Here, it's fine, it's good, but it doesn't feel like as high a quality as, say, like the Dividend or the Flourish or the Weston or the other ones that I've had with the nice bronze washers. Now, Again, if we're thinking about that hinderer in that previous video, I mean, certainly not all washers that are like Teflon are made the same. And so certainly durability and all these other aspects are things that need to be considered. But just for opening and closing with Kershaw budget knives, 100% the bronze washers are superior. So there's that. And then moving to the very back of the knife, let's take a look at this clip. This is a weird clip. Again, it resembles somewhat the look of the one on the flourish, but look at the flourish from the profile view. You can see how it dips down and then straightens out. Look at this one. Weird. Just really weird. It's nice and snug. It carries well. Not too much real estate left out of the pocket. No issues with that whatsoever. But just the way that it like angles up. I mean, imagine this sitting in your pocket. You've got about a 1/4 inch like away from your pocket where it's just bumping into you. And I mean, my hand goes in and out of my pocket all day long, just like while I'm at work or whatever I'm doing. I mean, this thing was just odd. It just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like it should be that way. And I'm not sure if I just got a weird one or if that's just the design, but this whole thing should just be like down. And I don't know if I'm going to try to bend it into shape or if I'm just going to cut it or do something different, but certainly this isn't a very good clip. And again, one position only, so it is right-handed tip up only. All right, so again, just some questions with this knife where I'm just not sure about it. You know, overall, it is, I think, an improvement for me personally over the Flourish, just because I prefer a knife this size and the ergonomics are really excellent. But, you know, I would have liked to have had that really nice crisp opening that a bronze washer would have had. And yeah, just the clip is a little bit weird. But overall, I think this was $35. Pretty decent offering from Kershaw. You know, certainly would like to see more in terms of quality and improvement, but definitely a step in the right direction. And it's a good little knife. You know, my big concern for the long term would be how the lockup holds up. I don't know what that will be like, you know, after extended use. Just, you know, breaking down boxes over and over again over the course of, let's say, 6 months. You know, if we're going to have just continued play or just, you know, any kind of issues in this area of the knife. But definitely something I will follow up with when the time comes. All right, so yeah, not a lot of videos on this knife out there. So definitely, if you go pick one up and check it out, let me know what your thoughts are. And yeah, I'd be really happy to hear from you. So any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know down below. Again, a lot of new stuff, a lot of cool stuff on the way, guys. Really excited for what this year is going to bring, especially the start of the year. So yeah, stay tuned, and I will talk with you soon. Have a good one.